We made it to Friday, which means a fun slate for MLB DFS. It's just a 6-game slate for tonight, which usually can lead to some dicey decisions where you're using pitchers you don't want to use and stuff like that. But I honestly think it's not a bad slate. So pretty excited to dig in and get you set for today's slate. Welcome on into the FanDuel Fantasy Q&A. My name is Jim Sonis, here to take your questions for the next half hour on the FanDuel YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and Twitter pages. No matter where you are watching this stream, you can get your questions in. We'll answer them live here on air to get you set for tonight's slate. It's a 6-game slate locking at 7:07. I love the 7:07 as opposed to 7:05 or 7:10. Why not? Love it. Even when they're in the U.S., the Toronto Blue Jays making things fun for sure. I'll be taking your questions for the next half hour. So if you have questions about pitchers, you have questions about stacks, MLB DFS process, whatever it may be, get those questions in on your platform of choice, and we'll get to them throughout this stream for today. Michael actually has a question right away. Would you downgrade an Angel stack now with Phelps opening for Zoik? So it's a good question overall, and I think that openers do actually downgrade the opposing stack a little bit because in general, we're going to regard those relievers as being better than the guy we were playing a stack against. If you didn't listen to the solo shot this morning, I did say I wanted to stack the Angels because Zoik is a guy, doesn't get a lot of strikeouts, doesn't walk a lot of guys, so I was okay stacking against him. So let's look at Phelps here, see what he does. Obviously, it's probably going to be about an inning or so. I think he opened once last year, and I'm pretty sure he went just an inning against the Dodgers. But Phelps, pretty good pitcher, so I would say the way I'd handle this, Michael, is downgrade the Blue Jays a tiny bit, the Angels a tiny bit. Looking at the top of their order, I believe their lineup was out when I last refreshed. Yeah, it is. So Fletcher, downgrade him a tiny bit. It wouldn't affect Jared Walsh all that much to me. I think that he's still going to be one of the better plays. Mike Trout can hit a homer off of anyone, so maybe downgrade Fletcher, but he wasn't really someone I was super interested in using anyway, so slight change to him. I do still think it's a pretty high-quality stack for today. It's not my favorite stack, but still one I would go to. Good question, though, in general. I think that just looking at the skills of that actual reliever, are they actually good? Should we care about the fact that, they're be facing a different guy out there? I think that's the way I'd handle that. But good question for sure from Michael. Mateo, do you like the Reds offense tonight? The lineup is out, so who do you like? Okay, so yeah, like Mateo said, the lineup is out for the Reds. Tyler Naquin is in there. We talked about that this morning as well. I was worried he might get bumped with Winker coming back. Winker is back, but we still have Naquin in there. It means no Nick Senzel for today, but still a pretty good lineup. And the fun thing about this one is that they've already said they're going to keep the roof open at, is it still Chase Field? Yeah, Chase Field for tonight, which means we're going to get 90-degree temperatures in Arizona. So they weren't one of my top 3 stacks this morning. I could definitely see the case for bumping the Reds up. I think that they're a really, really fun option for today, especially with confirmation that they are going to keep the roof open there. So let's refresh here one more time so we can get the updated lineup pulled in there for the Reds. We can see some salaries too. Nope, not in there yet. Okay, so we'll just go back over here. And let's pull up the Reds numbers against righties since the start of last year. Let's check out what we got here. I think I want to look at Winker and see what we're working with there because he was kind of regarded as being like a contact type guy when he was coming up, which is fair. But if he can get a good fly ball rate, his fly ball rate against righties, 27%. Not a deal, but a good ISO for Jesse Winker. So I would say Winker, fine. I think I can get there. I'm okay with that one. Nick Castellanos, someone you'll probably want to build around. Let's refresh here so we get some salaries built in for these Reds as well. We can see the lineup over on FanDuel. See what we're working with here. Okay, scroll down to the Reds. Go to utilities. We can see all the hitters. All right, Castellanos 42. That's deserved. Moustakas 35. Sure. Naquin 33. Eugenio Suarez. Shortstop eligibility. Long live the Reds. Winker's 31. I think that's a pretty good number. India had a really good spring. Let's check out what he's been doing so far this year. If we're looking at small sample sizes, which is what we're doing here, with a guy like Jonathan India, we want to focus on the numbers that will stabilize most quickly. So we're looking here at things like strikeout rate, making sure he's not totally lost to the dish, seeing if he's making any hard contact. I'm not going to care, I'm not going to cross him off if he hasn't made hard contact as of yet, but it can influence things for sure. So India so far this year, 20% strikeout rate across 25 plate appearances. I'll take that. That's not a huge issue. Got some barrels. So I would say India works as well. So Mateo, if I am making a list of this Reds lineup and telling you guys I might not use, I'm not sure if I really cross off anyone. Joey Votto is not like my favorite option, but I'm not going to use Barnhart because he's batting eighth, batting from a pitcher. I can cross him off, but honestly, Mateo, everyone on that list is in play for me for the Reds. I think that Winker's a really good play. Castellanos, if you can get there for sure. But there's no one here I'd be really scared off of. If we're talking about how I'm viewing a stack relative to where I was this morning, I am higher on the Reds now than I was this morning. So bumping them up for sure. Good question there from Mateo. Benny, how can you fit in San Diego for tonight? You're my boy. Okay, so Benny, appreciate the question. Appreciate you tuning in as well. Well, let's go to just Joe Musgrove here. Let's plug in Joe Musgrove because I'm assuming that we're viewing this in the context of we're going to spend a decent amount of pitcher. What can we do from there? So if we put Joe Musgrove in, we have 31.63 left for our remaining hitters. Let's go here to this Padres lineup, which I assume is not out yet. However, we can say with a good amount of confidence that Trent Grisham will be in there because it sounds like he'll be back from the injured list for today. I actually want him in outfield. So let's put Trent Grisham in the outfield, $2,500. That leaves me $3,257 left. Okay, let's go from there. I do want to get Machado and Hosmer in there because I think they're kind of the two prize jewels left within this Padres team. So, Benny, if I go with Hosmer, Machado, Grisham, and then Joe Musgrove as my pitcher, I've got 3120 left. That's actually quite a bit of wiggle room, especially when we're talking about that Reds lineup, which we can use Votto as a lower salary guy. We can check out India. Naquin's right around 3,000. So what I would say, Benny, is start with the value plays, specifically the value play, which is Trent Grisham. Build from there. If you get in a situation, Benny, where you find yourself, like let's say you want to stack the Padres and the Angels, you're having a hard time getting to Mike Trout, and you need to find some value, that's where I feel okay dipping down to Jurickson Profar, who is $2,500 as well. And if you use both Profar and Grisham along with Hosmer and Machado, $3,275 left for your remaining batters, that's not too bad. So I think that you're in a good spot here, Benny, because specifically Grisham does give you salary flexibility because Musgrove's salary is not that restrictive. I think you're in a good spot. So I would say the first thing you want to do, plug in Grisham. That's the first thing you do in stacking the Padres. Then go from there. And I think you should be able to make it work for tonight just because the pitchers aren't too restrictive for tonight and there is some salary elsewhere. But the Padres, still my favorite stack for today. Good question there. Benny. Hey, Jimbo, I know you like Musgrove and Malley. I'm seeing some love from McCullers and Plesac and other sites. What do you think in terms of cash games? 40 Musgrove, 40% Malley, 20% others. So for cash games, I would probably go with one pitcher and like one lineup, I guess is the way that I'd phrase it. I want to have I got a question from Brian saying Winker's been hurt. I think he was sick, actually. I think it was a non-COVID illness, but he's back in there today, so I feel good about him. As far as pitching for cash games, I'd probably stick with just one lineup. I know that does mean you're kind of going to be baking in some volatility, but like if I'm playing a head-to-head, I don't want to have, like, let's say I'm playing a head-to-head and one of my opponents has a bad lineup. If I use my worst lineup against them, I lose that cash game, whereas if I use my median lineup, I would have won it. So I prefer to go with just one person. For tournaments, though, I think I'm probably sitting about 40 to 50% Joe Musgrove there. I think I might redistribute a bit. You had mentioned McCullers. I actually do like McCullers. McCullers, I think, is my number 2 pitcher for tonight. It's Musgrove, McCullers, and Malley. I've been saying Tyler Malley's name wrong in the past, and I feel very stupid about that, but we got it right now. So Tyler Malley, I have him number 3. So I think the way that I would view it is I would go Musgrove 1, probably 45%. That leaves me 55% between McCullers and Malley, 35% McCullers, 25% Malley. I think this is a good night to focus on those guys. Plesac, I think. So Plesac's facing the Tigers, great matchup. 26% strikeout rate for them against righties since the start of last year. Obviously a very low WRC plus as well. I don't tend to use Plesac. I don't know if it's like lingering like bad sentiment given all the stuff that happened last year, but his strikeout rate is also down recently. This is the sample I have is his past 6 starts with fewer curveballs. He's got a 24% strikeout rate, 4% walk rate, which is good, but a lot of hard contact. So I'm actually okay being lower on Plesac. I think that he makes sense given the matchup, just because I think that I think that it does make sense given the matchup, but I'm okay being lower just because I'm more wary of his skills and, again, annoyance with the stuff that happened with him last year. So, again, personal bias in there for sure. But I think that he makes sense. But I would say I do like McCullers, and I wanted to be included in that for sure. Alvin, I'm late, but favorite bats in the Angels and Cleveland. Okay, so I don't think Cleveland's lineup is out. They've got Ahmed Rosario batting leadoff. We talked today about how I want to target lefties, or if it was facing Julio Teheran. Rosario is not that. He's a righty, not a big power guy. I think that the way I'd view this, Alvin, is if you need the salary savings, I think that you could go Rosario. It's a similar thought process with Cesar Hernandez. I don't really want to use either of those. So I think that if we're looking, Alvin, at this Cleveland lineup, I'm looking right here in the meat. I'm looking at Ramirez, Rosario, Frommiel, Naylor's okay, and then Jake Bauers. Jake Bauers, maybe it's like lingering old, stupid season-long takes where I had some Jake Bauers a couple years ago. Obviously did not work out by any means, but has some stolen base juice, has a little bit of power. Josh Naylor, not a bad player either. Let's pull up the numbers here for Cleveland against righties since the start of last year. Obviously, Ramirez is going to be the main guy here. Rosario, he's actually drawing walks, which is fun. 10% walk rate for Eddie Rosario. Never thought I would ever live to see that day. But Ramirez, the guy we want here. Rosario, Frommiel, he's a righty, but I still think we can get there. Let's compare it between Hernandez and Rosario, Ahmed Rosario, that is. Against righties, 22% hard hit rate, 32% fly ball rate, 33% strikeout rate. It's a lot of woof. So I would say, Alvin, if you can avoid the top of the order and stick to the guys lower in the order, like the salary between Ahmed Rosario and Jake Bauers is pretty similar. I'd probably rather go Bauers. I know it's a small sample for Bauers because I think he was in the minors all of last year at the alternate site. He might have opted out. Either way, didn't play last year. And it's a small sample, but I think I'd rather go him over Ahmed Rosario just because I don't know if the power is there for Ahmed Rosario, whereas it could be for Jake Bauers. So, Alvin, I think the 3 through 7 hitters on Cleveland are the main spots for me there. The Angels lineup, Jared Walsh is in there. Happy day. Let's celebrate. We're talking about Trent Grisham being the first guy you lock in for the Padres. Jared Walsh, first guy you lock in for the Angels, batting fifth, $3,100. Sign me up every single time. I know we are downgrading Ohtani a bit because he's, batting at the top of the order, facing Phelps some of those times, but I'm not going to say no to Shohei Ohtani. Like, just from a fun perspective, I'm good. So I think that, we're going to go there. I think that you're looking 2 through 6 for the Angels. So Ohtani, Trout, Rendon, Walsh, Upton, and then for Cleveland, 3 through 7, the main guys to stand out to me there. Nick says, Plesac also breaks the bank on DK. What's that? I have no idea what DK possibly is. But yeah, I think because if he's a higher salary guy elsewhere, I'm okay avoiding even more than I would have been previously. So I think for me, it's Musgrove, McCullers, Malley, the main guys I'm focusing on for tonight. Pat McAfee Show fan page. Why do the Pirates stink? I don't know. My boss is a Pirates fan, so I don't know if I'm allowed to say bad things about the Pirates. I want to tread lightly here, that's for sure. So the Pirates, a beautiful stadium, seems like a fun city. They got that going for them. Otherwise, it's because they trade away all the good players. Maybe we'll go with that. Jesus, is the Angel stack still in play? Yes. I'm assuming this is related to the question we had from Michael, where if you're seeing the news, you're seeing that David Phelps will open for the Blue Jays for today. So you go to FanDuel and you go to scroll down here, you're going to see that David Phelps is one of the scheduled starters. He's not actually the bulk guy. The term we use in when they do projections over at numberFire is the long boy. I don't know if that's an officially sanctioned word, but I like it. I think it's funny. So the long boy is still TJ Zoik. TJ Zoik going to let up a lot of balls in play. I don't actually recall what this sample is. Let me pull this up here. The Fangraphs thing. Oh, I didn't link it. That's stupid. All right, so we'll copy and paste, see what this sample is. This is his 4 appearances that he's had. I think it's since the start of last year for Zoik. Yeah, so it's 4 appearances, 2 in relief, 2 as a starter. Not a big sample, but just 4 strikeouts and 15 in the third innings, 6.9, nice % swinging strike rate. That's something we can definitely stack against. He's going to get some ground balls. If you look at his minor league profile, going back to when he had larger samples back in AAA, 57% ground ball rate, but because he allows so many balls in play, I think that bodes well for Los Angeles. So based on the track record that we saw from Phelps last year, again, track record's 1 start, but whatever. The track record for Phelps last year, probably just 1 inning. So I think that that's still fine. So yeah, Jesus, I'm still in on the Angels. You mentioned Cleveland too. Love them. Definitely in on Cleveland. I think they're my number 2 stack. Even though I can't get super jazzed by the top 2 guys in the order, 3 through 7 still really fun for me. Alvin, stack rankings for single entry. So let's think about this here. If we're trying to decide which bats will be popular, the default way to do this is by going to numberFire, checking out the heat map. Hopefully I'm logged in. Bingo, we are. Cool. I always forget to check that I'm actually logged in, but I use it enough where I usually am just to be safe. But let's go to the batters here. You can just sort by implied total. Generally, if you're trying to identify which teams will be chalky, there you go. So it looks like people are going to be super excited about the game in Dunedin. So probably you can assume some hefty popularity for Los Angeles. Cleveland's there. The Padres are there. So you're going to be dealing with popularity. I would say I still want to go at San Diego as my top stack. They are ranked 4th in implied total. Maybe that means they won't be quite as popular. And I think that, Alvin, if we're looking at ways to be contrarian without being stupid, turn to the Cincinnati Reds. They are playing in Arizona, which means they get to play in that 90-degree heat because, again, the roof will be open. Humidor's there, but I think it sounds like humidor might be everywhere now. Book Sciambi was talking about this in the Cubs broadcast, and then Craig Mish of Sports Grid confirmed that they're using a humidor in Miami, and if they're using it there, they're probably using it everywhere. That's concerning. So the humidor in Arizona, no longer a concern, because if they're using it everywhere, it's not an actual difference. So I actually think the Reds would be a good stack. If you want to find a contrarian stack that's not stupid, and contrarian but not stupid is my favorite kind of stack, I think the Reds actually grade out pretty well there. So I put San Diego 1. I'm still leaning towards Cleveland at 2. But if we're talking trying to identify stacks that people might not be on that make a lot of sense for single entry, I would say Cincinnati over Los Angeles. So to me, for single entry, Alvin, give me San Diego 1, Cleveland 2, Cincinnati 3 as my stack rankings for there. Nick, I need a low-salaried outfielder. My choices are Grichuk, Laureano, Ahmed Rosario, Akil Badu, Andrew McCutchen, Gurriel, or Jurickson Profar. Which one do you prioritize? I got someone razzed me on Twitter when Jurickson Profar signed with the Padres, saying I couldn't use him in stacks anymore. No. I can use Jurickson Profar at all times. You doubt my depths, my ability to use not great hitters in DFS. We can always find ways to make it happen. Let's see if the Padres lineup is out yet. It is not. So I'm probably going to wind up liking Grichuk from those options because he's facing Heaney. He's playing in Dunedin, which sounds like it'll be a hitter-friendly park. Just based on the weather, based on the dimensions of that park, it seems like it should play or should favor hitters over pitchers. So Grichuk, if he's an option to me, I feel like he's going to wind up being near the top of my list just because he pummels lefties. Heaney lets up a little bit of hard contact. So I would say Grichuk stands out as being the favorite one. If Rosario is in the same range as Grichuk from a salary perspective, I can cross him off a lot more easily there. So probably going Grichuk from that group. I don't mind Gurriel if you need the salary savings, but again, if the salary gap between Grichuk and Lourdes Gurriel isn't that big, actually, it might have been Yuli. I didn't actually check. I'm so Lourdes focused that I just completely disregarded Yuli. But I think I'd lean towards. I actually do like Lourdes for tonight. Assuming it was Yuli Gurriel, I would still go with Grichuk of those options. Homer calls for tonight from Jesus. Okay, let's pull these up here. We want a good park. We want some good weather, some good hitting weather. Obviously, Mike Trout's the easy one. That's boring. I don't want to do that. Okay, so Heaney lets up some fly balls, lets up some hard contact. So thinking Jays. I like what I've seen so far from Vlad from a launch angle perspective. Let's see if there are actually some changes so far. Batted ball data, fluky still, but it's going to stabilize more quickly than results-based stuff, so we can at least check it out. See what he's working with here, see what Vlad's been doing so far early on in the season. Wait for my there we go. Okay, oof. My goodness. Hello, Vlad. That's awesome. Batted ball data for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Ooh, 20.5 degree launch angle. That's fun. 41% fly ball rate. I feel like the Vince McMahon gif where he like gets progressively more excited. I just went through all like 6 stages of that. So Vlad, gonna hit a dinger tonight. Jesus, you can just bank it right now. If Vlad doesn't go deep, there's no stakes tied to this. I'm not gonna put any actual stakes tied to this, but I will. You can make me eat crow on Monday, Jesus. If he doesn't go deep, if he goes deep twice. If he doesn't go deep twice, make me eat crow because he's gonna. Guaranteed double dong for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. for tonight. I put Teoscar Hernandez up there too because I have a deep affinity for Teoscar Hernandez. So we're going to double dip on Jays. Vlad going twice, Teoscar going once. Those are your home run calls for tonight. Bethany, does the fact that Rose in the lead at -7 have any predictive power over stacks for tonight? Justin Rose is like the perfect doppelganger for the founder of numberFire. Therefore, I always root for Justin Rose, Nick Bonadio. I always root for Justin Rose because he looks like Nick. So I think that maybe like it bodes well for all of our stacks if Justin Rose is doing well. We can always pull for Justin Rose because of that. And if Justin Rose is doing well, all of numberFire is doing well. Dr. Disrespect streaming here had so much fun. Yeah, he was awesome. If you were here on Wednesday for the Dr. Disrespect, I should put some respect on his name. New York Times bestseller, Dr. Disrespect. I have to address him by the proper name, given the news that's been happening recently. So congrats to him on that. A lot of fun on Wednesday. Hopefully the PGA lineup is going well, the one that he was talking about. Let me pull up my Masters leaderboard over here to see how my players are doing. He had Tony Finau in there, and Finau went 6 under today. That's awesome. Paul Casey was in there. I think he hit a double. Brandon was just messaging me about Paul Casey because we have a shared affinity for him. He's 2 over for today so far. Jason Kokrak looks like he should make the cut. Our boy Joaquin Neiman making up for a slow start to the day. I think that Spieth might have been in Dr. Disrespect's lineup too. So it looks like his lineup is doing pretty well. So I think I think that he had a good day for him on Wednesday too. And it was a lot of fun to watch that as well. Different take on PGA DFS. So definitely enjoyed that. I still have a sweat to go here. Right now, all the guys that need to make the cut are good, but Berger and Casey are making me at least a little nervous. DJ is closer to the cut line than I would hope as well. So, we're still a little nervous there, but regardless, either way. So have a couple of minutes left here. So if you have additional questions about pitchers or stacks or process for tonight, feel free to send those in on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, or Facebook. We will take questions from anywhere and get you set for tonight's slate. Trying to remember if there's anything that I wanted to discuss today that we have not gotten to yet. A lot of good questions so far, keeping us focused. Talk a little bit about pitchers. I do like Musgrove. We didn't talk a lot about McCullers, but do you want to talk briefly about the reason I like him? McCullers added a slider over the offseason, and sometimes when you see guys add pitches, they will throw that pitch 10% of the time. It's like a sprinkle-in type pitch. McCullers threw it 36% of the time, I believe, in his first start, which is awesome. So he's leaning on that slider a lot. It looked pretty good. I know he's facing the A's for the second consecutive time. So if you're looking for red flags to have in your mind, I think that a second consecutive pairing with the opposing offense, that counts as a red flag for me when something like that occurs. So it is a red flag for me that McCullers is facing Oakland for a second consecutive time. But we were talking yesterday with Alvin about valuing teams versus what pitchers do from a pitch mix perspective. McCullers leaning on that slider, and we had the numbers up yesterday where Oakland is the worst team in baseball since the start of last year based on their current active roster versus sliders. So I think that that's good enough for McCullers to offset the downsides of the fact that he's facing Oakland for a second consecutive start. So that's where I'm coming from for him. As far as Tyler Mahle goes, the numbers I have on the sheet for him are since he joined the rotation full-time last year. That's an 8-start sample, 32% strikeout rate. So I don't like targeting teams or pitchers facing Arizona all that often. I know that they were hideous at Coors Field for the first 5 innings in both those games. So maybe I should like targeting them more, but they don't strike out a whole lot. 21% strikeout rate for them against righties. Kind of annoying and not high enough where I'm going to leap off my seat to use pitchers facing them, but because their overall profile is pretty disappointing, I do think that we can feel pretty good about Tyler Mahle. So Musgrove 1, McCullers 2, and Mahle number 3. As far as the stack rank or the pitcher rankings for today, I think I have settled on moving the Reds up my stacking list. Sorry, that was gross. So we had the Padres in Cleveland. I had previously had the Reds as being number 4 or number 5. I think I'm going to shift them up to number 3. It's not because Phelps is opening for Zoik. It's mostly because the more I think about it, the more I should not turn down that weather out in Arizona, especially because if they're going to use a humidor in a bunch of places, that lowers the downsides of Arizona. So I am bumping up the Reds officially to number 3 on my stacking list. And again, based on like the applied totals here, I wouldn't expect Cincinnati to be all that popular. I did get a question on Twitter this morning about the Reds. So maybe based on projection systems somewhere, they thought that the Reds might wind up being in play. And if projection systems like them, it's possible that they wind up being more popular than I'd hope. Let's pull some pitcher projections here just for funsies. Well, we have time. I'm going over it, but whatever. Some hitter projections. Okay, Trout at the top, obviously. Red. Okay, so the Reds probably aren't going to be super contrarian. Maybe the Padres will be because none of them are super high on the list, but I guess Trent Grisham is. Wow. I feel validated that numberFire likes Trent Grisham as much as I do. That feels great. So I think that I'd still lean towards the Reds as being one of the more overlooked stacks as far as like relative to where they should be. So I'm going to keep them at 3rd. I still think they're a good option for today. That is all the time that we have for this Friday stream, though. But as always, want to mention we are doing this every weekday right here on the FanDuel YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and Facebook pages, answering your questions about MLB DFS, whether it be pitchers, offenses, one-offs, stacks, whatever it may be. Talking here 4 p.m. Eastern every weekday, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and Facebook. So make sure to subscribe wherever you want to consume your content. Get those questions in. But thank you all for tuning in. Really do appreciate it. Hope it was informative for you as well. If you have additional questions for me that I did not get to, hit me up on Twitter. I am at Jim Sannes, JimSannes. Big thank you to Calvin Theobald, our video producer, for running the video side of things here today. Thank you, Cal, as always. And thank you to everyone for tuning in. Good luck to you with your MLB DFS lineups for tonight. Have a fantastic weekend. We'll talk to you once again next week. This has been the FanDuel Fantasy Q&A. Oh, whoops, are we live?